Welcome back to Horror Recaps. My name is Freddie, and in a moment, you're going to listen to a frightening tale narrated by me. Beware, fear awaits you. This horrifying tale begins with an 8-year-old girl named Miko rushing through the woods and inside a building. A man wielding an axe follows her, and eventually he catches up with the little girl, and almost immediately he ruthlessly murders her. And we see Miko's doll tarnished with blood. In the next scene, an old newspaper indicates that this incident occurred in 1947, and the game of body searching began immediately that night. Every year, Miko's spirit selects a few students for this game. Students must locate her body parts and place them in a coffin, and if they fail, they will be stuck in this body search game forever, like a loop. The scene then shifts many years later, where we see a high school student named Asuka waking up on the day of July 5th. Her mother prepares a large meal for her and informs her that she can share it with her friends. However, her mother is unaware that Asuka has no friends at school and that all of her classmates treat her as if she does not exist. On her way to school, Asuka witnesses a cat being hit by a car. After that, we notice a shy boy named Shota being bullied by his classmates. When we're taken inside the classroom, we meet some more characters, including Takehiro, the school's hot and popular guy. Asuka appears to have a crush on him, yet he never speaks to her. We also meet Ri, the class president, and her friend Rumiko. During lunch, Asuka sits alone in a corner to eat a big portion of her food. She then walks out into the yard, where Asuka appears to experience a vision of several bloodied hands emerging from a well nearby. She then moves again, and this time she notices the librarian, Mr. Yashiro, taking care of some plants. But right at that moment, Asuka hears the voice of a little girl, asking her to find body parts. Later that night, Asuka's about to go to sleep when her phone begins to ring with messages from an unknown number, informing her that someone called the Red Person is after her. Terrified by this, Asuka ignores the texts and goes to sleep. But when the clock strikes 12, Asuka finds herself in her school chapel alongside her friends Shota, Takehiro, Rumiko, and Ri. There's also a boy named Atsushi, who used to be Takehiro's friend. Atsushi dropped out of school a long time ago, yet he's still here with them. Everyone is confused as how they arrived at the school so unexpectedly. Finding this terribly unusual, Atsushi begins to leave. However, the Red Person immediately slices his body into 2 parts and then kills Rumiko on the spot. Seeing this, Asuka and the other students immediately flee to the library. However, the demon pursues them through the school and kills them all. The next morning, Asuka awakens in her bed, believing that she has experienced a nightmare. However, she finds out that the same day, July 5th, is repeating again. Going to school, the cat gets hit by a car again, and she goes through the same events as yesterday. And as she arrives at school, it appears that her friends are also recalling their experiences from the previous night. The group then gathers to discuss their weird situation, and Shota informs them that they are part of the body search game, where they must find Red Person's body parts. This person was murdered, and her body was dismembered. They must now reassemble it and place the pieces inside the coffin in the chapel. This will continue every day until they find all 8 pieces of the Red Person's body and place them in the coffin. When the students are discussing all of this, the librarian, Mr. Yashiro, arrives, and after hearing their words, he acts suspiciously and behaves as if he knows the truth. That night, all of the students return to school at midnight. They also ask Atsushi to help them locate the body parts, but he refuses to play this game. Soon, everyone else starts seeking body parts. Takehiro turns on the lights in the classroom to search for the flesh with Asuka. They discover a severed hand, but just then, the Red Person appears. Takahiro distracts the demon and Asuka rushes to the coffin to keep that hand. And after killing all of the students, including Takahiro, the red person advances toward Asuka. By this time, Asuka has already kept that hand in the coffin, but she is killed as well. The next morning, everything is the same as the previous day, and it's July 5th again. But this time, Takahiro and Asuka manage to save the cat together. Rie and Rumiko also arrive and are happy with themselves, as a body part was discovered while working together last night. Later, Takahiro informs the group that Atsushi's leg was hurt while playing basketball a few years ago, and it took a long time to heal. During this time, he got so depressed that he never tried to run again, and never returned to the school. Afterward, the group learns through old newspapers that in 1947, someone severed the body of an 8-year-old girl named Miko Onoyama and threw it on the school grounds. The police officers discovered the girl's body parts, but never found her head. They now realize that the red person is Miko's ghost. As the students become aware of what is happening to them, they begin to take the task seriously and devise a strategy. Shota brings up the school's blueprint, and they begin noting down all the locations where they had previously searched for Miko's dismembered body parts. Just then, Mr. Yashiro appears once again and asks what they are doing, but the kids claim that they are just studying. That night, the gang blasts loud music around the school. As a result, the red person has a tough time locating them based on their sounds. They also communicate using walkie-talkies while searching for Miko's flesh. Atsushi also joins the mission this time and begins working with them. Every night, they try to cover a specific part of the school, and after many loops, they manage to assemble the complete body except the head. Meanwhile, at school, the group starts getting closer together. The experience of dying each night appears to have formed a strong relationship between them. One afternoon, they go to the beach together and spend the day there. Asuka and Takahiro talk about how they've known each other since they were kids, but have grown apart. Takahiro is the most popular boy at school, whereas Asuka became an outcast. However, now that they are trapped in the time loop, they abandon their pretenses, and it is clear to their friends that they love each other. Later, the group decides to go to the crime scene. Miko was murdered in her summer house, not far from their school. They realize that the house is still empty and decaying. Once they get in, they discover a secret hole in the wall where they find Miko's doll, Emily. From the pictures on the wall, it is clear that Miko loved her doll very much, as it was her only friend. However, before they can even touch it, the doll suddenly disappears. Now, the students are forced to flee the house, but they begin to suspect that the doll is somehow connected to the ghost and the time loop. That night, when the group arrives for the body search, they discover through the shadows that Miko's spirit has joined with her doll Emily and transformed into a massive monster. Immediately after this realization, the kids try to flee, and everyone else dies in the process, except for Asuka and Rie. The monster then begins to eat Rie. Now, Asuka is the only one remaining, but soon she also falls from the balcony and dies during the escape. When they wake up the next day on July 5th again, things are different. Most importantly, Rie has vanished and no one outside of the time loop has heard of her. The group then concludes that by discovering the doll, they awoke this new monster, and if they are eaten by the monster, they will be eliminated from existence. So they are now forced to find that head and break the curse, because giving head is not even an option. Desperate for answers, Asuka consults Mr. Yashiro, who has been acting suspiciously and repeatedly listening to their talk. The man admits that he too was once compelled to play the body search game, but he claims he has no memory of it and just discovered his participation after reading a book on the body search game. Yashiro claims that after the quest is complete, memories of it go away, and there's nothing he can do to bring them back. Hearing this, Asuka becomes upset as she realizes that she will soon lose her friends. Afterward, Asuka tells Takahiro that they will lose their memories after the game is over, while she worries about how she will return to being a nobody once the loop is complete. Takahiro assures her that he will prevent that from happening. He then kisses Asuka and hands her his pin, promising that he will find her again, no matter what. That night, during their body search game, the group is ready to give it their all against the red person. They believe the severed head may be within the creature's skull, therefore they plan to trap the monster and dig its throat. Meanwhile, the group discusses why Miko's spirit chose them to participate in the body search game. Takahiro claims that their loneliness is what brought them together. Asuka is mostly ignored by her classmates. Then there's Ri, who also feels left out. Rumiko's so-called biker boyfriend is cheating on her. Shota is always picked on and made fun of by others. Atsushi does not attend school until attendance is required and spends his days in his room. Takahiro, too, suffers from an anxiety of failure, which is why he dropped out of the basketball team. All of these students have either a sensation or a fear of being left out. They now realize that instead of being sad, they have to fight their loneliness. Soon after, the monster shows up to attack them, and by the end of the night, the monster kills practically all of them, and only Asuka and Takahiro remain. Takahiro eventually traps the monster for a brief second and saws its head in half, causing the girl's head to fall off the doll. He and Asuka take it to the chapel, where the rest of the body has already been collected. However, the monster reappears just as they are about to lay the head in the coffin. Takahiro fights it, but he's also eventually killed. With all of her friends gone, Asuka decides not to flee the monster and instead continues to fight. Moments later, the cross that was floating in the air ultimately kills the monster. Asuka then takes this opportunity to complete the body in the coffin. As she falls asleep on the coffin and wakes up in her house, while the date finally changes to the 6th of July. At school, the 6 friends do not seem to have a memory of the event. They return to being the same people they were before, but there is one change. Atsushi, who has never attended school, appears unexpectedly and claims that his attendance is low. Later, a lucky lottery is held to select student volunteers for an upcoming school celebration. Surprisingly, it is these same 6 students who are chosen to volunteer, making it appear as if fate is giving them another chance to bond, this time in the real world. While walking to their meeting, Asuka drops Takehiro's tie clip. He then picks it up and suddenly seems to recall everything. And with this, Takahiro places the pin in Asuka's hands, telling her that he promised to find her, and he did. Asuka smiles as well, indicating that her memories are returning. In the post-credit scene, we see the well from where Asuka earlier saw countless bloodied hands emerge. The camera pans to the bottom of the well, where we notice a ripped newspaper with Mike Onoyama's death news on it. Then, gradually, blood appears on the newspaper, and Miko's picture transforms into that of another girl her age. And as the name on the newspaper changes to Asuka Morisaki, this creepy tale comes to an end. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching.